That's your walk-on music.
And keep my advent to yourself, because it's nothing I don't like.
How are we doing? It's almost lunchtime. It's almost food. My favorite time of the day. All right. Want to take the next few minutes to just talk about a program that we've done that really ties content distribution and technology together. And when we talk about things about publishers and agencies and what we can all do together, I think there are three pillars that the world is evolving to: content, distribution, and technology. How can we merge those three to really create great programs for brands? So everybody knows Jaguar, right? Thank you. A little bit. So here is the issue. Last fall, and this program is still live, last fall Jaguar is launching a new car towards millennials. Now, they're not in the consideration set, right? Jaguars for millennials are either their grandfather's car or the car that someone used to own that always broke down. So how do you create a new vehicle for an audience that doesn't even know you exist? And the test drive has been going on for 100 years, maybe 90 years. So the challenge that we had was to, A, all of a sudden be known and get in the consideration for a target that is absolutely fickle, that doesn't know you exist, and two, reimagine the test drive, which was really kind of a fun challenge. Now for us, if you look at millennials, what do they love to do? They love to take selfies. So we said, how do we make the selfie generation the star in reimagining what a test drive could be? So we started out with one piece of content, which was our quote-unquote hero piece of content. 2-minute action film with the Jaguar XE, this new car, base price around $35,000, as the hero, right? Blowing things up, Jaguar wins, people are after the car, et cetera, et cetera. And we had an actor as the protagonist. But then what do we do? Because then it's just a piece of content. We're distributing it on Facebook. How do we make something? Now, Jaguar, in launching this car, is doing a 7-city experiential tour. Okay, so millennials in 7 key markets can drive the Jaguar. Okay, but so what? That's been done 1 million times. And about 10,000 millennials are going to go through that experiential exhibit. But how do we put each and every one of them behind the wheel of that 2-minute action film? So basically the challenge was taking an experiential event, making it digital, making that digital shareable through content distribution and technology. So what we had to do is we had to pull together a team. We actually think of it as an ensemble cast. We had 5 or 6 clients. We worked closely with the ad agency. We worked closely with the PR agency. But then we also brought specialists in. So we found a company up in Canada that had patent-pending proprietary technology, which would allow us, as each of the 10,000 people went through the Jaguar exhibit, we had 2 sets, and we were able to put each of the 10,000 consumers in their own action movie. We were able to film 7 shots within 3.5 minutes on our 2 sets. And because of the technology, we could film them, and they were dropped into their own personalized movie within 5 seconds. Now, we also had an RFID bracelet. So now let's talk data stream and technology stream. They had a bracelet. The minute they signed in, it sent their information to the right Jaguar dealer to follow up, and it also put their name in the titles. So now we have a situation where everybody gets to be the star, going back to the insight. The selfie generation gets to be the hero behind the wheel of this really cool Jaguar. And then what happens? They go on a test drive. So as soon as they're done filming and feeling like a Hollywood star, they get in the real car and they test drive it. Test drive lasts about 10 or 15 minutes. By that time, they finish, and what do they get in their inbox? They have their movie personalized, customized, with a one-click shareability to Facebook. And also, and this is something a brand had never done, and a very personal aspect, they had 3 options for a 7-second clip that they could set as their video profile picture. So now what I'm going to do is show you my little action flick. No comments, please. I've been ridiculed by my children on this one. They think I absolutely do not look cool in any way, shape, or form, but I will let you guys be the judge. So this is my 2-minute action movie.
You've made it this far. Impressive. You're quite certain you want to join this organization. High IQ, perfect psych and cognitive scores. The only thing that remains is your performance test. You can drive, yes. Performed admirably. Now all you've got to do is feed my cat.
So as you can imagine, the shareability on Facebook was off the charts. 200x what was expected, benchmarks that Facebook gave us. This is what the video profile, one of the 7-second video profile links would look like, and it just loops and it goes over and over. One of the things that we did is we worked with Facebook and Instagram to promote the event. So basically we did cut downs of the Master 30 into these 30-second spots that drove specifically, for each city: Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, et cetera. And then we also did a bunch of carousel images, and the engagement on these were way, way, way above benchmarks. Obviously, I would love to give you specific data, but not allowed. But needless to say, it's been a huge success. It is still live. And I think the key here is for us is that when you look at the takeaways in today's world, people talk about scale, and then people talk about targeting, and they use a lot of these words, and I love the buzzwords that everybody uses. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing is, are you giving something to consumers that is of value to them? Whether it's entertainment or utility or something. That is so essential in what we do. So we can create great looking video, but that's like the ante into the game. That is not nearly the bar at what it needs to be. So when we talk about, Amy talked about it yesterday, Amy Emmerich from Refinery 29, just about audience. It's know your consumer, know your audience, and build to it appropriately. So, in this instance, we had to recreate a test drive. We had to make something experiential, something digital and virtual, and then scale it. So how do you do that? That was a really fun and interesting challenge. And when we talk about value, it could be entertainment, it could be utility. It can be both. So, don't think of value as just transactional. There's lots of different types of value. And then, what I've said is it's all about the consumer. It's all about the consumer. So that's all I wanted to share with you today, the Jaguar case study. I thank you very much for your time. I know Paul's going to come out and facilitate any questions.
Well, the first question, David, is I promised these fine folks that through your case study, you would secretly be sending them messages on what you're looking for. What is an agency like yourself, and somebody who does these programs like yourself, what are you looking for from these publishers and media companies out here in partnering with them? When they're coming to you with opportunities, you're going to them, what are you secretly hoping they will tell you that makes you go, ah, perfect, we're going to work with you?
It's lots of different things, but I think a really clear answer is when Upworthy was talking, and they were talking about RFPs. You know, RFPs are it's such a broken system, right? Publishers get RFPs, and it's by the thousand, and then the agency briefs a lot of people, and then we end up seeing, you know, stuff off the shelf from many different publishers we've seen before for another brand, just slightly tweaked. And not that we blame you because of the volume, but I would say personalize, like come up with something that's different. Think outside the box, because whether you get that assignment or not, we will go back to you. Because it's like, you know what, they thought differently than the mass, than the other 90%. Because a lot of them feel very generic, you know, and not very personalized to what the brand is looking for.
But wait a minute, having been at an agency myself, I know, and a lot of these people here will know as well, that when you go outside of the box, it tends to scare some of the people who are receiving those responses back, because they're looking for something they feel familiar with. So how do you do that? How do you balance? How do you sit the person down on the agency side and say, listen, we're going out of the box here for you. Just bear with us. If you want to go safe, we've got safe solution over here. Can we do that? Can we be that honest?
Yeah, absolutely.
With our agency partners?
Yeah, and so, you know, we have a very different process at Mindshare, meaning when the entertainment side or the content side is working on a brand, we are sitting with the media team. And we are reviewing from a creative perspective responses. Very few other agencies do that. It's just driven by the media team. So we are represented in a very different way. But what I would personally do, even if we weren't there, is say, look, we have some ideas that are just middle of the road, straight up, safe, and we have stuff out in left field and right field, because we wanted to show our creativity and the time and effort that we've put in. Because that way, you know, you cover your bases, but you're also hoping to stand out from the rest.
Right, but that's still through the RFP process, correct?
Yeah.
So how much appetite is there for, hey, I'm at a publisher, you know, we have all these shows, and here's our slate of program. Boy, we'd love to get ahead of it with you and get these out to your brands and go out there. How much real appetite is there for that, getting ahead of that RFP?
So we do that all the time, you know, through relationships that we've built up, through creative people that we know and that we like and that we trust. You know, I think it's hard because when you get back to the slate, you get generic once again. And so when people like, and to me that's always the rub, like people come in and they go, okay, we have a slate of 10 shows. And the very first question that clients always ask us is, why is it special for me? So if I'm sitting down with Jaguar and they see, well, Audi could just be slotted right in there with them, they're going to say no. And same with Unilever and everybody else. So if it's just like insert brand name here, not going to fly anymore in today's world. So that's where the whole slate business and the new fronts and everything else, because everybody comes out with their slates, right? I was like, okay, great. Well, I got 10 shows in my drawer too. Like, so what? So I think you really, if you're going to come in with slates, make sure you do your best to personalize it for the people you're trying to meet with. So at least it doesn't look like we pulled the deck off the shelf and now we're coming in and we're just doing a roadshow. That
makes sense. Very difficult, but makes sense. A lot of resources required to do that.
And that's the hard part, right? I mean, everybody is tight on resources, and that's where it's like for us, we look for people that are very multi-skilled. We don't look for copywriters or art directors or people who do just one thing. I would never in today's world hire somebody like that. We all have to wear many hats and do them pretty well to be competitive in today's world.
Makes sense. I'd like to open it up to questions from the audience. Tyler will bring you a microphone, or Tresha back over there.
I have a question that basically would benefit all of us. What is it going to take to get to a place where the last slide on that presentation is Jaguar spent this much money on this program in Q1, by Q4, Jaguar sales increased by X. And at what point in the conversation with Jaguar is that part of the ROI come into the equation? That this is not about just making great content. Is this going to help them move more cars, right? And regardless of whether it's Degree, like did Degree sell a lot more deodorant after they did the last program? You're like, when do we get to that place?
You mean get to that place for us or out in public? Well,
It's really B2B, right? It's really, how do we all in this industry get to a place where the brands can say that their investment in content resulted in moving more product?
Well, for us, I mean, our business has grown 10 consecutive years. And it's not because we like to think it's because we're nice guys and we do good work, but it's because we show ROI. And if we didn't, our business wouldn't be growing, as you know, because we've known each other a long time. It wouldn't have grown and wouldn't continue to grow if we do not show value to the brand. And value, though, depending on where a brand is in their life cycle, if it's a brand launch, it's awareness, right? If it's a trusty dusty, maybe it's getting into the consideration set. We've also had metrics where it has to be in part sales. But it's truly impossible in today's world, right, for attribution to know, signal exactly this did that, because no one thing did that. It's a combination. But to your point, for us, a metric, and I was having a call on this morning, is what is the metric, hold the client to, what are the top 2 or 3 metrics that mean success and that mean more of this or more of that. And you have to have those up front, and you have to just, like, everybody has to be in lockstep. You have to rise and fall together. But at least then, in that instance, if the client knows we are held to that, you are held to that, and everybody's on the same team. And everybody does everything they can to get there.
Fantastic. Final question for David, please.
Hey, David. So talking about working with, I guess you're ready to work a lot with, your, I guess, making content. When are you guys gonna get to some kind of standardization of, you talk about, metrics, right? You talk, we're dealing with many different divisions within your company. One is on moat viewability, one's MEC, another viewability, one's on clicks, one's conversions, one's completion rates.
Yep.
And, you kind of said we're all on the same page, but you really, a lot of times you don't know what you're being measured against until it's too late.
Yep.
So I'd love to know, how are we dealing with that situation?
So I think there are 2 questions here, right? It's like, 1, what are the right metrics? 2, how do you even define those metrics? Because everybody seems to be defining them differently. What's a view? We won't even get into that. That could be a 2-hour conversation, right? But to your point, when do you have the conversation? And one of the things we do before we ever start, like when we are selling in a program or a project, we sit down with the client and we go, what are we being valued by? And everybody's held to that right up front. You have to do it up front, because if you do it afterwards, here's what happens. Oh, I thought we were doing completion rates. No, I thought we were doing click-throughs. Right? And nobody wins. So it has to be up front, and also then the definition of what that means. What is a view on this platform, to make sure that everybody is looking at it the same way.
Right. Well, we don't have a standard way of buying branded content, right? There's no standard IO for branded content that we can use. Every deal is a custom deal that gets custom negotiated, custom line item, and the whole thing. And that's part of the problem, is we don't just have a way to buy it that we all can agree upon, is these are the things we can measure. Maybe these are more important in this program versus these things.
Well, and we don't even call it branded content anymore. We just call it content. We create content. And some of it is highly branded, some of it's not branded at all. But it's content that's aimed for a consumer that's hopefully going to enjoy it, take some sort of action.
That works. Well, thank you, David. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great job. Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Next up.